Coming up, how I was able to take this wooden panel and paint on it using watercolors. Drops of Honey presents I Choose You. Being able to use watercolors on wood is as simple as using these materials: a circle wood panel, watercolor ground, a paintbrush, and tape. I recommend taking tape and putting some on the back of your piece. Here I'm using washi tape. This helps to keep it in place before the next step. To prep the surface for artwork, I'm coating it with a layer of Daniel Smith's watercolor ground. This one is specifically titanium white. The medium is pretty thick and goes down similar to acrylic paint. Watercolor ground helps to create a new base layer to paint on top of. The bottle says it can be applied to wood, metal, glass, and more. After letting it dry for a couple of hours, it's left with a very rough texture. I wanted it to be super smooth like paper, so I buffed it out using the edge of another piece of wood panel. Here I'm demonstrating with another panel shape that I have. All smooth and ready to go. For this project, I found it easier to design my artwork on my tablet instead of freehanding the design on the wood. In Procreate, I was able to go from super rough sketch to a more planned out final design. To transfer my design, I hung up my phone and used one of those AR drawing apps. It lets you trace your artwork by adjusting the opacity of the design while looking through your phone's camera lens as you draw on the actual surface. For this project, I used watercolor paint, acrylic wash, paintbrushes, colored pencils, and an eraser. I recommend doing a practice painting first. It helped me to plan out how to layer my paints and which colors to use. The surface allows for the watercolor to pull up similar to how it would on watercolor paper. The paint itself lifted off the surface in a similar way too. It was easy to blend the layers of paint together. It was also easy to erase my pencil sketch in areas I didn't want it showing up under the paint. For finer details, hard-colored pencils helped to give me a better outline and base for me to paint on top of. In this area, I used acrylic gouache because I like the way it contrasts against the watercolor. Both kinds of paint apply nicely to the surface. And here's the final piece. Buffing out the texture of the watercolor ground was a great idea for this. It made using the different art materials apply very smooth. The final step is to seal your work. Materials used are cold wax medium, gloves, paper towels, and an old paper bag. Make sure to be in a well-ventilated space. There's a slight smell. I saw people on TikTok using gloved hands to spread the cold wax medium, and honestly, I think it's a good idea. Here I'm using Dorland's wax medium. It's always a little scary to apply something over a finished art piece, and I was really worried because this is my first time ever using this stuff. I did short strokes while keeping an eye on if the wax started to lift the watercolor or any colored pencil underneath. Doing circular motions helped to spread the cold wax more evenly. I don't think using a paintbrush to apply it would work as well as my hand. It would probably cause way more texture to the finish and be a lot harder to spread. You can see in the darker areas just how much texture it has so far. After letting it sit for 24 hours to dry out, I followed up with another method I saw on TikTok to buff out the texture of the wax with a dry paper towel. It worked pretty well and didn't really lift off the wax. It's a good idea to keep an eye out for any lint that might have gotten stuck. Thankfully, I was able to scrape off this lint without digging into or lifting up too much of the wax. I like the finish. The wax doesn't make this piece too light reflective and the texture is pretty smooth. Presenting I Choose You. I named this piece after the song I Choose You by the group 5V. Considering I used 2 new art materials for this, I really love how this turned out.